Okay, call to order, DPW Building Committee meeting on August 25th. Roll call.
Smith present. Rashad here.
Marini here.
You're here. Chandler here.
Okay, meeting minutes from August 12th. Any questions on those?
Make a motion, we accept them as submitted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Public session. Do we have any from the public wants to speak? No. Okay. Designer update. So right into Weston Sampson.
Do that just from our seats back here,
Yeah,
whatever you'd
yeah,
like to
or-
do,
or-
whatever you're comfortable with.
Do you want, would
You
you
can go
prefer
on the
that?
podium if you want, whatever you want.
You know, it's
You
so
make
many
it far more
people
important.
now, it's hard to manage it.
Welcome back, Tony.
Good evening, I'm Tony Westpodger with Westman and Sampson, and just a quick, designer update. We have, continued to, progress on the project, working on a lot of different fronts. Last week, we assisted the DPW Ryan's team with a presentation to his staff, and my understanding, just by my own observations, that was very well received and seemed to be pretty successful. Not to steal any of your thunder, Ryan, from an update of yours. Following that, or simultaneously with that, we had some other staff here working with the mechanics. That also was a good meeting. Coming out of that, our industrial equipment team is working on updating the plans, mostly around the vehicle maintenance operations, but that would also touch on shops and to a certain extent in other spaces. So don't have anything specifically to show you tonight, but that team, the industrial equipment team, is working to update their specific documents. Similarly, the architectural team is continuing to work on the updates. We believe, I think we're pretty much zeroed in on the final program. There were some discussions over the last couple of weeks that just providing updates and discussing the different aspects of the programming. But JP, it's accurate that we think we've got a pretty good final program document. And Ryan, what we've sent you already, we're not looking to update. I think we're gonna be ready to go with that.
Yeah, that depending on the only concern is the square footage being what it is. So that's discussions to be had for sure.
Understood.
Knowing that the program is pretty much, it's exactly what we presented to you guys 2 weeks ago. And that hasn't changed at this point, but knowing where that square footage is at, you know what I mean? That's the only thing that probably needs to discuss. So.
Okay, but as far as, so that's in the building.
Correct.
And
correct. That's the starting right. For sure.
We have continued to be working on the survey. It's a big site, so the surveyor is bringing in, I don't remember exact aerial photography. What's the term that? Anyway, they have an outfit on board that they're working with. They've been out. The surveyors themselves have been out at the site, laying down ground control. That's just so that when they're tying in information from the photos, there's actual target information on the ground that they can pick up so that we have accurate surveys. So the survey work is ongoing, including both field work and these office exercises working off of aerial photography. So we're working on a permitting and zoning memo, and we're looking to have that within the next week, maybe two. All that is a review of the zoning bylaws and all of the local permitting requirements, conservation commission, and that sort of thing. Also, we have staff out at the site this week doing wetland flagging and walking the site to verify the environmental resources that are out there. So that work is ongoing, and like I said, with some field work, they'll be out there a couple of days this week, I think starting tomorrow. So that is all I have. Yeah, JP is just offering, we've developed the, not only the geotech scope of work, but the scope of services for, the remaining portions of the project through bidding. And I believe that is actually in your packets, as I understand it, our proposed agreement. So that includes design development, final contract documents, bidding.
It's only through SD, isn't it? It's only through SD. Gave us.
Yes.
Yes, only through SD, yeah. Yes, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it does include, as JP said, the geotech,
Does include that, yeah.
preliminary. Right.
And the additional survey from having to
I was
go
just
further
going to say that.
than we had expected.
Yeah, just a quick update on that. We were originally expecting that the water service would be able to connect into at the top of the access road right there at the landfill. Looks like we're gonna need to run out to 12 through the police station. So we needed to add just that corridor to the survey. So there's a little bit more money that hopefully is explained clearly in the agreement. So that's it.
Just to jump off that, touch on the meeting that we had. So we met with our staff Wednesday. I was really encouraged by the meeting. I mean, so these guys came in, we went through all the pages of the program. Very well received, a lot of good thoughtful questions from our staff. And then, we sat probably for about an hour, and then the industrial equipment guys sat with the mechanics for a while. Went over, different options for lift types and different things, just to start incorporating things that actually work for our functions into the designs. Really, and it goes all the way from power to the foundation design to all that stuff kind of matters when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I thought that was possible. We did get the contract from Weston Sampson end of last week. Went right over to Vertex, right? It was actually copied. Bill has it as well, so Vertex is in the process of reviewing that, and we'll get that executed once everyone's happy with it. The Vertex contract has been executed. I think you guys have that one.
Yep.
So that one.
I got a question I'll ask you, but you guys can answer it. In terms of the site, for a while we had talked about trying to push the DPW complex to the back of it, maybe taking out some trees, some soil. And then when the light department was here, we say maybe they should be in the back of it and the DPW should be up front. Where does that stand now?
I would say that very much stands in the survey's hands and your guys' hands when we get that survey and placing that building and seeing how does, once we have the actual survey, how does our program with included yard space fit in certain parts of that property. So there's been no change there other than when it was brought up, it kind of made sense, seeing that we're public facing, they're not. But there's been no change, but I think it's something we're gonna need to figure out
So
once we get that
proposals
survey.
will be brought back to us.
I would say
Or
probably, yeah, I think that's probably the order that it would go in.
Okay, thanks.
Do we want to set up another meeting with the light department as well?
So they were gonna get back to us with dimensions and
Yep.
whatnot. In talking to their staff, like their higher level staff, they're 100% like they want to do this. I say 100%, not because
Yeah.
done until it's done, but they're very engaged and working on what they need for space and whatnot. So I think again, a lot of this stuff hinges on the survey and like where can it fit, how much, what can we do to get down there and things like that. What do we need to get down there? Power, water, all that. So we can, but I feel like it would make more sense to when we have something in it.
Okay.
We're doing this every 2 weeks, like we can turn it around pretty quick, once we have something in our hands.
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking of, at some point, they're gonna have to either, we're gonna have to have a change order to Weston Sampson to design their portion or.
Well, I think at this point, what we had talked about was Weston Sampson, simply we can
Just give a box, okay,
and say, put this square. And
Okay.
I think that we could put a square on that.
Yeah, and we touched on that in the agreement. There's some language just saying that our layout would consider the 10,000 square foot building as well as yard space, and it may be worth clarifying with them how much yard.
Well, that's what
area
they're working on now, yeah, so they can actually, the square I envision would be outside of the fence or whatever their
Yeah.
allocated space is on this. That was kind of what
Yeah, I'm looking at it in a little bit different way. I think if we can meet with the light department board and get them more on board with what we're doing and more engaged, that there will be a more positive impact from the community. And that'll be an easier sell to the community that not only are we doing it for one department, we're doing it for two. And I think that just makes sense. And considering that's what we're doing anyway, to get them not only engaged from a blob standpoint, but actually see if they can get their building sort of included in the construction sort of sequencing. That could save everybody a lot of hassle, a lot of money, and we might have to expand your contracts, but it actually could be such a better sell job. And I don't even want to say sell job. It'll be a better way to do the project. So I would like to see if we can get the light board on sort of on fast track, because we're moving pretty fast. And I don't want to slow us down. But I'd like to see if we can get them up to speed and join us. And more than just a blob. I mean,
Sure.
and I think,
I would look at it less as getting them up to speed, because I would put that on Matt's
Right,
note to do.
of
I think
course.
it would be more of like, I guess, ensuring that they're on board, with
but when,
something like they're starting the conversations of how can we split these costs.
I'm thinking the town meeting. I'm thinking the discussions of the town meeting.
Okay, sorry.
That's what I'm talking about. And if we have them on board and in a significant way by then, I think it will help everybody. I don't see how it can hurt us. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying it should be in the front or the back, or I don't know either. I mean, I'm not. So I'm taking a little bit different approach.
Ryan, are there other departments we should be talking to as well? I mean, I know
I'm
there's
open to
storage
ideas.
or fire. I mean,
So, yeah, so that has been something that's come up for a while. Whether that would be a separate building or it would we would be a good place to store that stuff, whether it was like under our overhang or something like that, But I kind of would leave that to Bill, who's been at a bunch of these meetings. He hasn't brought anything up, but it might be something to consider, I guess. I don't know if it would need to be another satellite at that point, another satellite building. I should like put those two buildings on the site. But as far as other departments, I don't really know, but I still think there would be plenty of room on site for future. Say the police station needed to, and whatever they're ready, they could build down there for continuity of operations or whoever. Senior center already is built. Rec is really one of the few buildings that's apartments is kind of outstanding, but yeah, I'm open to any discussions. You have
Just Blaine is just discussing the fact that we should utilize that property the best we can for all municipal entities, right?
right. So I think citing our project in a way that's gonna leave as much open as possible. And if we are in front, really what it does, it buys a ton of time on that material in the back, which I don't think is as easy as just saying, come and take it, being that we're a registered mine with the USGS and all, like there's procedures I think that would need to be followed. I don't think it's gonna be like a quick thing. Someone had brought up one of the meetings, getting one of those companies in there. Was it at our Wednesday meeting? Getting one of the local, getting like an Onyx or a Simpson to come take a look at it and say, in theory, is this even something you'd consider?
You'd want,
You know, and how logistically, how would that work, right? Because I envision it as a huge time thing. Like, they're not gonna just come in with an excavator and start hauling material up. They're gonna want to process it. They're gonna want to, you know what I mean? And then they gotta haul out thousands of loads, not quick. You know, store it somewhere. It's a lot of logistics too. It's not as simple as just taking it. But that material, if we do move to the front, stays there. So that, you know, it's still available for any future work we want to do with it. But that's just a thought.
When's the survey planning to be done, you know?
I don't have a final date yet. I mean, it's at least a week out.
Yeah.
So do you want me to try to get the light board, or what do you guys want to do with that?
I think maybe after we have the survey, we can play around with the blocks on kind of the site at that point. I'm just thinking get them involved as soon as possible so we can start figuring out how.
Keep them engaged, keep them on the hook.
Correct.
Keep 'em-
Fine, I would suggest we don't need to wait for the survey to open a conversation with them.
So we met with them at our last meeting, I think, before you guys jumped
Yeah.
on. And there's, huh?
Onyx?
Oh, no,
Oh,
no,
no.
no, sorry, I'm talking about the light department.
I meant Onyx.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I can talk to them at any time, yeah, reach out to them, just have them look at it, but I don't know that if we move to the front, I don't know that we make our project have that be part of it. You know what I mean? We might just store it in that pocket for future.
Yeah, unless they're dying to take it.
Right, exactly, and then that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
you
They have
know?
to have a market for it right now, that would be nice.
Exactly. And in the end, it would need to be advertised,
Yeah.
lowest bid or highest bid.
Highest bid.
I mean, sorry,
Yeah.
essentially you're auctioning it off, you know? What's it worth to someone, I think is the question, because sometimes you auction off surplus material and you get a penny in the yard or whatever, you know?
That still would be fine. If they're clearing the site for
It's
us,
true.
they're saving money later on.
Gotta put those time constraints on.
Yes, yeah,
Because
that's
what
what,
happens is you put time constraints on, say, oh, never mind, I'm all set.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get strung along. I've had that happen in the past, not here.
so I think maybe one of the next working meetings you guys have, bring Sterling Light to maybe in a couple of weeks, so.
Oh.
And have one of them at that, I think that at that meeting would be good.
Right.
Yes,
Did I understand correctly that the entrance is going to be off Route 12? Will that be the only entrance?
No, that's the water main.
the water next to them off.
That would be,
That would just be a one-time connection, construction connection, and then never, well,
it would still be the driveway for the police station. It would just. I thought the water main came down toward the police station driveway and turned into Patriots Way, but they shot it through the woods instead. And then they ran it all the way through the neighborhood and brought it right to the end of Patriots Way on the other side, but it's all small main, nothing that would be suitable for a building of this size. They essentially ran a long hydrant lateral through the property closest to where we would want to grab it, unfortunately. So I flagged that once we figured that out, said that, so we have just gonna survey beyond the police station, right to Route 12, so we can show that connection.
What size is in Route 12? Yeah, okay, plenty big then.
yeah, because we would need a decent line for the DPW building
Yeah.
alone, but if we're putting, you know, an SML, municipal light department, I'm just thinking fire protection, so I would picture at least a 6 or an 8-inch line.
Oh, it'd be at least an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially for the length of the grass fire flow with that much friction.
Anything else for Weston Sampson? Yes,
My turn.
yeah, your turn.
Just a couple updates from our previous meeting, and where we left off. I have, Stephen provided some information about, Shrewsbury's DPW. It's in design phase right now, but it kind of gives a flavor of what a different design would look like for people to take a look at. I also spoke with the director of the Hudson DPW. They're just wrapping up their facility right now and said he'd be more than willing to, host a tour. They should be moving in within the next few weeks, but with a little bit of heads up, we can accommodate any type of a tour for them. I know that Weston and Sampson also had a couple other ideas that maybe we could carve out some time and do a field trip and take a look at a couple different designs of other municipalities and see what they've done. Dovetailing with what Tony had said, I think it's important for us now to kind of get a strategy. We're putting together a schedule from here until town meeting. I know that the town meeting date will be established, I think, the end of this week.
Yeah, so, well, potentially Wednesday, you're gonna discuss it. Bill threw out a date of maybe November 3rd, based on vacations and other things. That was the date that was thrown out to me today, not set in stone, but that was kind of tossed out as like a possible.
And so I think what's important for us and important for this body here is to think about what our message is going to be and what our charges is going to be about the estimate and how we're doing this with SD. Currently, right now, we're at the 25th of August. We have a proposal from Weston and Sampson that we're reviewing. We'll get any comments to Ryan probably by tomorrow. And once that executes, they can begin the SD phase of the geotech. My concern and questions maybe for the board that possibly could answer here is if we hurry an SD phase and hurry an estimate, well, the number that's being driven by the square footage that we have in our programming is a number that's not very palatable at this time. What is our message going to be in town meeting at this point? We have some preliminary numbers from Weston and Sampson on what it's going to take to design this building. Those numbers are going to pretty much stay consistent, whether it's we'll say a $25 million project or a $40 million project. We know what it's going to cost to design this and to bid it. Well, what I think the message needs to be at our town meeting is establishing our need and then letting the taxpayers understand what they're paying for this design, but then what our goals are going to be for what the cost of this project is going to be. And I think if we hurry an estimate right now to hurry to get to town meeting to say, well, it's going to cost X, then we could be dead on arrival for that type of a town. So what I'm wondering is if there's any boards or FinCom or financial, I know that there has been some analysis done based upon round numbers about what the impact is going to be to the average taxpayer. But is there any feedback about what is the tolerable number or the palatable number that we can work from, reverse engineer it from the other side a little bit so that we have kind of an understanding and goal when we go to town meeting here, and I'm speaking all in estimates of round numbers. We go to town meeting for $2 million offset with some of the previous appropriation that we have. That's what we need to design a building, regardless of how big it's going to be. This is what it costs to design these types of buildings. But our goal is when we come back to you, this is the impact on what it has. So it gives a little education to the taxpayer as to what they're voting on first, knowing what's coming down the pipe later on. And I think that the board, we can strategize as well about at what point do we go back to town and ask for that, whether it is in the spring town meeting when we may not have a fully baked design at this point, or whether it's in the fall where maybe we do have an actual hard bid in hand where we know exactly what this project is going to cost, what the impact is going to be. So my question, and I think I can work with Brian on this as well, is finding out when our next committees are that maybe we can present in front of about where we are in this project. And maybe get a flavor or an understanding as to what analysis can be done that we can provide to the taxpayer so that we can show what our goals are for this project.
Mark, when do you guys meet again?
September. I don't have a date yet.
Sometime in September. Okay.
And I think this all kind of works together with community outreach as well. So, you know, I think we can get those goals and get that impact. You know, we don't want to exceed X amount of dollars on an average taxpayer based on the average household in the town. Okay, Well, now we can kind of work backwards to see where we are with our square footage. And try to get creative possibly on obtaining that square footage. So,
Brian, if you were to present at a FinCom meeting, what kinds of, in September, we'd be just talking ballpark things,
correct.
which I think is fine.
Yep.
I think the sooner we start talking about numbers, other than the one we originally got, which everybody kind of didn't like too much, and then start having a back and forth. I don't have a sense of what is tolerable. When we have our meetings, everybody says, well, what's it gonna be? And, none of us have the expertise to come up with numbers. But we, it'd be really important at some point to say, okay, this is gonna be the impact of the design, of the schematic design, and this is gonna be the impact of the whole thing on individual taxpayers. And I think if we can, start talking about that sooner rather than later, it would be a positive.
I just foresee a presentation at town meeting, if it's Ryan going up, to establish our need. What did you say your current facility is around 17?
16 to 18,000 square feet.
And we're outdated, we're undersized, we need a new building. If we were to build the exact same size building that we have here, we're over a $20 million project as it sits right now. Currently, right now, our programming is driving at 37,000 square feet where we are programming. We could do the math there to show you what that number is going to be. And if the original number was choked on a little bit, we're only trending higher. That is right there. And so what I'm trying to do is get out in front of that early so that we're not paying for services and getting down a road that maybe we need to pull back from already. So, right, I think that's right. In September, ballpark numbers can be talked about. We won't have an estimate at that point. But we'll be able to maybe get some ideas. I'm not sure, Ryan, who did provide the, it was I think a 30 million.
Westland Dam, so it was just square footage, and what we've been talking about. Square footage with a round number on it.
With the debt service.
Sorry, that was put together by Bill. Bill pulled that from our bond council.
Yep.
That was where that came from. He just kind of had him run some numbers.
Yes, and maybe that's we could request maybe different scenarios on where we are, based upon where we're at here, what we're seeing in the market. This is what we are for the current square footage. This is the goal of what we have right here. This would be the impact on where you're at for the next 30 years. And just start putting all the facts out there to kind of get an idea on where we're at.
We could do a nice table, like that 500,000 that's there right now, you know what I mean? Like, okay, if no action's taken on it, here's what that's gonna be. If action's taken on it and it's looped in, that XYZ number, here's what that's gonna be, and the average impact is like, when we were looking at that table, it starts out, obviously amortized across all the years. The payment at year 30 is significantly less than the payment at year 1. So, you kind of average out those payments and the average impact, if you will. But yeah, I think that doing some different scenarios, laying it out as much plain English as you can when it comes to this stuff, which sometimes it's difficult, will make most sense. And it all comes down to the impact on an average taxpayer.
I'll give you an example of the lack of understanding about what this is. I spoke with a owner of a pretty good sized business in Leominster. I was doing some business with, and I told him what we were doing, and I asked him what he thought. And he said, number one, do they really need a new building? And this is a guy who's got a good sized building, a good sized business, I'm sorry. Why do they need a new building? Which is what the first thing always is. The second thing is, he said to me, I heard it was going to cost $10 million.
I wish.
And he said, I understand it passed. So this is a guy who's no dumbbell.
Does he live in Sterling?
He lives in.
Okay. I thought you said, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. His business is.
Oh, okay.
He does live in Sterling.
Well, I can tell you, we haven't put out that information, so I'm
No,
not sure
no,
where that's coming
Seth,
from.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Right,
We have a big job ahead of us in terms of education. Because that, I try to talk to people and they just don't. I don't think they care until it actually hits the tax.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's, you know,
Majority of people.
Yeah.
we've had these conversations, especially like with this fall meeting, right? The people at this fall meeting are not gonna be there for us. They're gonna be there for zoning,
Right.
right? So like, we just gotta make sure that we're talking to the people that are at that meeting, right? Because that's the first line that we have to, prove ourselves to, right? Or sell our project to, if you will. We just gotta keep that in mind, the demographic that we're talking to. Yes, everyone's Sterling residents, but I believe they're gonna be there for the zoning. And then whether we're first or second or whatnot, if we do end up putting something on that meeting, that's something that a conversation that we should have here. So I can ask Bill what we think if we wanted, and say, hey, we'd really like to go first, or we really like to go second. I'm kind of open to you guys. That's we talked about that on Wednesday, right? It's what would you guys prefer? What do you think would vote best for us at a fall meeting if we're going for design? Or the zoning, perhaps.
I would say after, if you're gonna be the first thing in the agenda, people will show up for that, and then leave.
I think
They may not want to sit through zoning.
Right.
we'd have to do a little more public outreach and get a feel for what feedback is before we make that commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I think if we had the fire department there with us saying, we want this facility because they're gonna help us with this, and we have the light department there and saying, we want this facility, that's gonna change minds. That's my whole point. I'm bringing it up again. It's the Department of Redundancy Department here. But that's part, I don't mean to call it a sell job, because it's really an education job. It just makes sense. So I really am urging all of us
So Mark,
to start talking.
you wanna get back to us on when the September meeting is, then
Yeah.
we can get on the agenda for that? I mean, I think coming out of that, we'd wanna set up ranges. The
Right.
range of construction costs X, what's the taxpayers' cost? X to Y. And
What you said, sorry.
I'm sorry, just going off of what Mark said here, what I envision, and obviously I'm open to other ideas, but for a presentation is establishing the need of what this department is, what the services that is provided to the taxpayers, why you need a new building. Okay, this is what these buildings cost to design, regardless of, there are some breakers.
Yeah.
This is what it's gonna cost, whether it's 1.5 or 2.1, this is what it costs to design buildings. This is what our goal is. Are you in or you out? That's kind of
Yep.
in very broader terms, but this is what the impact is going to be
Right.
at the end of the day. And try to sum that up in a 15 to 20-minute presentation for everybody in layman's terms is the challenge. So
What you said about replacing this building, that was eye-opening.
Yeah.
If you say that, I have no idea how that's gonna,
well, yeah, I almost think there's the
how it could hurt
cost
us.
of,
Uh,
Think it would hurt us? I don't
no, it's
think-
just the numbers, just the,
Yeah.
in other
No,
words,
I think it would kind of put it in perspective.
yeah,
I mean, there's the cost of the new build for the program that's being established now. Then there's the cost to rebuild this exact building in kind. And then there's the renovation cost potentially there's three separate scenarios. All of them don't cost anything. All of them are gonna be a lot of money.
Mhm.
It's just, where's the threshold, I guess?
without having an engineer look at structural code and updated new stretch codes that we have in here, this building might not serve its renovation.
I don't,
And all.
yeah,
We've already gone
Yeah.
over that.
Yeah, okay.
Great lengths, I
Yeah.
feel like.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
And it-
don't sneeze.
It's become very
Hopefully we
clear
beat
that
it
it's
to death.
not a candidate for renovation.
I think the other point that we always have to remember is time's on our side if we move fast. The cost will be less if we move fast. I
Construction
think
costs.
construction costs.
Right.
And that's a huge issue.
Yeah, if you don't have someone stands up and says, well, how much is this going to cost? We don't know.
Yeah.
but we're trying to find out.
You don't want to scare someone or give wrong information because you don't have it yet.
Right.
That therefore derails the progress that you had. So, in summary though, I think that'd be great if we could get in front of, finance committee.
Yeah, and probably select board too, right?
Right? First and third Wednesdays. It changed.
Yeah, we'll go back on that schedule.
No, yeah, we're here summer.
You wanna ask for a joint meeting? Maybe off
All
either of
three.
those dates?
Good, or do you think it's more impactful to make the effort to go to one of their meetings? I don't know.
Both boards have new members.
Saves time.
Yeah.
To go to everybody at the same time.
Everybody at the same time, but then it gets limited as to what the
I
discussion.
agree,
No,
like,
you're right.
we,
You're
when
right.
we met with
No.
the select board,
Yeah.
or not select board, FinCom, they were in the basement.
Yeah.
We got, and I thought that was pretty productive because it was focused questions on when the boards get together, sometimes they get quiet. They don't ask their questions. I don't know. I'm open either way.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
not
the
so-
efficiency of
No,
it. Sure.
I think Mark's right. I think it should be separate. I think, yeah. It's just
It
easy.
deserves the time,
Right,
this project.
because this is part of the education process of getting people on board with what we're trying to do here.
If we had ranges before that meeting, would you guys, the finance committee, be able to give ranges on taxpayer? Or would Bill, I guess Bill would do it. Bill would do it.
Yeah,
Okay,
we got that.
okay. That might be good to have.
Well, we can do it too. I mean, when we're not talking about exact numbers.
Oh,
Yeah.
We
round
can,
numbers.
yeah, we can say, if it's 3%, 3.5% for 30 years, X amount of dollars. Then divided by the
Just a
number. of
calculation.
When we did it out, we did it at 4.5%. Is
Four and a half.
that what we're,
I don't know.
okay.
When we first started,
Oh, that's better.
when we first started, we were talking.
Okay,
See at this level of the game, it's a conservative number like that.
Four
So
down.
I think if we could ask Bill or bond counsel to put together, even if it's like 4 scenarios, so real low end and all the way up to what we're seeing, where we are in the market right now, times whatever our current programming is. There's your high end, added onto your soft costs on top of that. That's your extreme, do both extremes and maybe a couple in the middle. And then we have some numbers just to kind of say what that impact is going to be.
and I'll just jump in and say, when we do that, we also need to tie what's gonna be changing operationally in this building with those ranges, right? So like, we get what I view as a pretty stripped down program at the max. I've looked through this thing 30 times to try to take more out of it. If we're cutting, what got cut, you know what I mean? And what does
What
that
program,
mean, right? So here's the ranges, the low to high, here's what the low means,
I think it's a waste of energy to be cutting the program at this point. You just let's do what, it's more efficient. It's just my experience. You guys just go with the program. When we get a little further along, then you can decide if you need to, right?
But there'll be no ranges if we do that. It'll just be one number.
Right.
That's the problem.
Brian's point, if I may, if we're offering something less than current program dollar, we have to explain what that actually means.
Right.
Can we even give that?
Right.
That's something we can offer, right? Still give them.
Yeah, right. Or are we just, right. It all looks good on paper, but what does it mean? Because every action has an opposite, right? Reaction. So cutting square footage means something to
Something to cut, yeah. And the other thing I think we gotta discuss going forward too is about just education about soft costs. Brian and I talked about this. People don't understand what that is. So they think
Yeah,
it's
so
like profit or something.
I think a lot of people think it's right, profit. It's not,
It's- yeah.
so I think, especially the finance committee, just a brief touch on what exactly is included in there. Because you hear the word soft cost, you think like, oh, geez, this could be done without, but it's some of the most important stuff in the whole project, other than that, you get a shell and it's like, Here you go, but there's no keys, you know?
Yeah.
You're right, there's nothing in it. So,
One thing we like to, like, even if it's as simple as like a pie chart where it shows this, your hard costs or your construction costs are gonna take up 60 to 70% of what that is, inclusive of site. And you have your architect and project management fees on top of it. But the pie, what we try to show it is that the contingency or the buffer that we're showing is really a small percentage of what we have and what the other necessary pieces are. So we can, yeah, absolutely.
just to put it into perspective so that people know it's not just $5 million tacked on to a project, you know what I mean, for fun.
I think most people just don't understand what's involved in these projects. That they think, oh, well, it's just a larger garage. You know, I built the garage. I paid the builder. Went through a little drawing process with the town. We built it. You know, what's the big deal? And they don't understand public building requirements. And I think that it's a good thing to educate that this is not, we're trying to do this right. But actually we can't not do it right. So, I mean, it's difficult. And you're gonna be talking to all these people who just built a garage and
Right.
they don't understand. Yeah. So it's really an education process. And we better start it now.
So FinCon first, then select board? Does it matter, or is that what?
I don't think it matters, but that's probably the better avenue.
Yeah. But I think one of the first questions the select
It's
board
gonna
gonna
be
have is.
discussed, yeah.
Yes, we have. I think at this point in the project, that's really the questions, you know what I mean? So. I think that's.
Anything else, Brian? or-
Just one other thing, was asked about some FAQs to potentially put up on the website. We're gathering those, we'll get those up there. Some of them will be answered, I think, with meeting with FinCom and some of the financial pieces that we can add some data into, but general stuff about just trying to get the public educated on mass general law and procurement law and how that works and prevailing wages. That's all stuff that we can answer that maybe will mitigate somebody if they want to read the FAQs. And then my last, just overall with the strategy with this, I believe is the schedule that we had put together was that we want you to get something to the estimator by, I think it was the 15th of September and hurry it to there. I think we should vote on that when we're ready to do that. And so I think maybe a meeting with FinCom, meeting with the select board, let's not waste money hurrying up an estimate for something that maybe we don't need for town meeting at that point, as it's not going to help our message at that point. So I think collectively from the board and Brian to make that determination when we're ready to go out for an estimate. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But at this point, the 15th of September, it's going to be a partial estimate at this point, right? It's going to be some Legos on a piece of paper. Right?
We'd still love to see that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
You want Legos.
9 parts.
Right.
Right.
Right. I mean, each estimate, they're not cheap. You know what I mean? It's 2 weeks worth of work for an estimator essentially. And to me, it doesn't make sense to be throwing that out if it's just going to be a number, just so we have a number and it's not a number that's going to be felt. You know? Jonathan, do you want to talk about that energy thing at all?
We can, or, I mean, so Ryan and I met with someone from the town who runs a company that does like energy assessments of existing buildings and also new buildings. I think we want to probably send his information around to Vertex.
Yeah, I'll send his info out to you. He's another president who had reached out, but essentially my understanding is they would go through like a cost analysis. What does it cost to like operate this building, right? I'll be interested to see how they incorporate things like waste oil, heating and all that good stuff. And then, you know, what would the
new facility,
you know, do you guys find that stuff worth it? Is it?
Yeah, and I would think the consultants too, once we get into DD, would explain that with
Yep.
whatever HVAC systems they're putting in, but also doing life cycle analysis
Yep.
to see what the
At what
operating. budget
point would you,
Well, I think from this building, I think to do it sooner
Yeah,
than
this
later,
one,
just to see how big of a energy suck this
Yeah.
building is, kind of.
It's a good idea.
I mean, I think for like the waste oil, I think they'd have to run it as
Heating oil.
you're getting it full, you're getting enough to fully use it, or you're getting none.
right,
So if you're getting none one year and you're buying all oil,
Right.
what's that cost? I think they'd have to play it out both ways.
That data is very important too, when doing that analysis, it kind of shows you what.
Yep.
How much more efficient the building would be, what the expenditure.
Yeah.
would be.
So I think I can circulate all that information
that'd
again.
be great.
Okay.
This is something he offered to do with the service.
No, I don't think, I don't think a free
We'll
service,
have to
but
pay them.
I didn't get that impression.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good added service.
And what I'm doing is I'm running a budget of the current appropriation as we have right now. We have, our contract, Weston Sampson's proposal, survey that's on there. All of which and then draws out of what we have currently, the 557.
Yeah.
Have your kitty at the bottom of what's uncommitted at that point, so we can. However, things get spent, then we can encumber it and commit it to the right column on that, so.
I've been sending a rudimentary version of one of those once, I don't know, will you send that around?
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
I'll
so,
clean it up so that it's.
exactly, I've just been
Yeah.
trying to, we have so many different funds and stuff like that, I'm just been trying to keep track, that's why I've been sending you guys these, as you can see, the Weston Sampson one, not executed quite yet, but I change all that. But it gives us a good idea of about 256,000 remaining, that'll be unencumbered, so we can do stuff like this. At this point, we get it rolling.
Anything else, Brian?
No.
No. Anything else from the board? Or Brian?
I think that's Weston Sampson,
Oh.
everything else after Vertex talk, just because we covered
Yeah.
so much. Anything else, or? Okay,
Are we gonna set up a field trip?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
think we-
why I
right,
was,
so
that's why I was,
We're gonna run out of
Field,
time. soon.
yeah.
I want to do that
site
right away.
visits, different visits.
And I think Holden was a good one. You guys did Holden, right? And it's
So-
operational
And
and,
Hudson's just about done, right?
but Holden,
Or-
we can go to Holden
Yeah.
as soon as they can take us, right?
Right.
Have you been there? Oh, I found it educational
And was
and
it 3 in a day, we thought we could do?
We talked about 4,
Four,
but that is a
okay.
lot, it's a
Yeah.
long day.
I think 3 is probably a good start, and if we need to do more, we can
Probably not.
regroup. What would be a good fourth, a third? Holden, we did Holden Hudson, I know that Hudson isn't yours, but
What
it's
was
still.
the third, Ryan?
Shrewsbury's in design. That's in design though.
Bridges in design.
Yeah.
I guess that, I'll leave that up to you guys. Do you guys want to do it? Because right now it's a Weston Sampson building and HKA building. Do you want to do another Weston Sampson building, or do you want to do another Wildfire building?
You're welcome to come to my building. I mean, it's got a lot to offer.
I think I've been to your building, yeah, that was a good tour. That was a good tour,
It's it's very unique.
Westford. We toured that with Holden, that was what I wanted to say. Yours is like in the court, like, yours is in the
So
courtyard?
all
Or
the
is that-
offices are downstairs and everything operational is upstairs.
I mean, I'm
The
hoping-
equipment base set up right, the mechanic shop is set up right. Maintenance, the wash bay is terrible, but it's reclaiming, which
We can learn from that.
doesn't function.
right, there's all of these things will
Do you
have.
want to do those 3? Does that make sense?
I would just throw out another one, of ours,
Yeah.
would be Tewksbury is, the town just moved into a newly constructed building in Tewksbury. It's a little further, but not much further than Westford.
Right.
There's great seafood up there.
Sold already.
All right, let's go.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have our meetings Wednesday. Let's talk Wednesday about those 4 and we'll get a schedule finalized. For you guys, we'll get that out to you. Just so you guys know, we did start meeting every Wednesday afternoon. Myself, Brian, Steve, Tony, and JP. So we have a standing meeting every Wednesday at 2:00. Go over, Vertex is doing a great job keeping a running notes list and whatnot. So I think that's going to be very productive for us to kind of keep everyone in the loop and keep things. Thanks for the reminder.
Anything else, Ryan?
I don't have it.
Jack, Mark?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So what is the town meeting, what are we voting on? The design money?
Well, we don't know exactly what we're gonna propose, but if it would be the rest of the money to give the fully designed project so we can continue the process.
The question will be asked, I'm gonna tell you right now, might not be from me, but it was asked at the town meeting, what's total project?
Well, that's what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, I know, and it is a sell job. It's not, it is a sell job. It's not just education, it's a sell job. It's
No,
gonna be-
you're right.
You guys need to build it. I'm 100% on board. Build, but it's gonna be a sell job. I just heard a number, 30 million, now I heard 37.
No, it's 37,000.
20 million just to replace this side building, and I know you guys need a bigger building. It's gonna be a big sell.
Well, renovations cost more.
I understand that.
Yeah. But,
Taxpayer pays, they voted it down on Tuesday, I work in Tuesday, they voted it down.
uh-huh,
It will take one vote difference to shut it down. And
no, you're
I'm
right.
not for that, I'm for the new building, but. The question's gonna be asked, how much is this total gonna cost, and then we get shut down, then we're, then. What? And then. Then you're back to renovating this building, and then that can get shut down. I hate to go down the negative road.
I mean,
But-
the questions that you asked at our info session were wicked helpful coming to town meeting. And trust me, that's kind of, that goes back to what's our messaging and, coming up with the different options and.
What's there, survey going out to the residents? I missed the past couple of weeks, I've been away, so.
No, we're surveying the land,
Surveying the
property.
Yeah.
No, it's actual.
Yeah.
You
legal
haven't missed any surveys that you
No.
doorstep, don't worry.
That's my comment as a president. So, I know you guys need a building. 100% behind it, but. The number's gotta be, it's gonna be asked, and that
Yep.
determine that vote, I hate to say it.
Yeah, I think part of the thing too is I know there's no feasible way to renovate this place. But what if this doesn't get built in the next 5 years, what needs to be done? I think we shot numbers
We might
around
have
early on that.
employees, I agree.
Maybe
Well, no,
that's
just-
something that
I agree
we
on
need to
that.
talk about for as part of the education, because like I had put some stuff together. Roof, fuel, salt, you name it, here's a laundry list of stuff that is I'll call it, an immediate need, and by immediate, we're talking 5,
Yeah.
10 years.
So I think that's great. Almost at the end of the presentation, you give that.
Yeah.
What happens if this doesn't go
Yep.
forward? What's our
Yep.
deferred maintenance right now?
Right.
We have a Friday HVAC, we have salt that needs problem, we have
Right.
this, we have that. All of this is gonna be an immediate need within the next X amount.
And here's what it could cost.
And this was scared us.
Okay.
It's a scary number when you
A
see
couple
the,
of thoughts I had. Throw some ideas, and I'm just throwing this idea, do we really need a fuel line? I mean, that's a huge expense. We could bring in a fuel truck. I
Well,
know
it's-
you guys-
It's so that's one thing. It's used for every department. So you'd have to have police.
I understand, but that's a big cost. I know the convenience, I
Yeah.
understand all that, but it's a big cost. And then I think Brian mentioned something about the size of a salt shed being 3 times the size of this
Yeah,
one.
definitely. Needs to be.
Why don't we start at 1.5 times, not 3 times?
Because if you start somewhere, it never gets. to
I
where it needs
understand, but I'm saying that it might have to be scaled down or something like that. I'm just throwing
Right.
ideas
Yep,
out. That's
yep,
all I'm saying.
yep.
Because every little thing adds up.
Right.
I lived in Westford for 5, 6 years, so
Thank you for the new building.
it was many years ago. Westford has a lot more money than Sterling, I'll tell you that.
Not as much as Sudbury.
I understand, but they got a lot of money. So I'm just talking as a resident taxpayer, I'm for the bill, but certain things, there's ways around things sometimes, So sometimes the sell job is maybe we eliminate one little thing, but it's a big cost. I'm just throwing ideas.
We talked about like the fuel island,
We did.
Right.
pros
So
and cons.
the ROI on that is,
I understand, we're just throwing it as an example.
Yeah.
I just do it as an
I
idea.
think we all know that, right, the fuel's important, but
right,
we're gonna have to get creative, I think is
Yep.
the.
right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I understand.
Stay creative, just don't be focused one way because
Right.
you throw even that $20 million number, people are gonna be shocked. I hate to say it. I hear grumbles through the town already. And the cost per, the tax dollar, that's a huge.
Yeah.
I know it's a range, but what's the impact on your tax?
Yeah, I think that's more important number for most people.
Yeah, because so people think of that 30 million, but how much is it gonna cost each?
Yeah.
Or average resident.
Add to that, when we're valuing and making cuts, sometimes that range of 30 to 35, when you see it for actually how it's going to hit your wallet, it's another $20.
$20. Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, then that makes more sense. I
Right.
completely agree with you. That giant number is terrifying. You really gotta boil it down to how it's gonna impact the individual.
Yes.
I think we learned our lessons, we as a group in our presentation need to be very clear on what the vote is because we only have so much control over what the moderator does and the way that the warrant's written. So like we can take that on, I didn't really look at that as our responsibility at the last one like that. It was on the warrant, you know what I mean? So, that the taxpayers, that will be incorporated in our presentation. We'll be controlling that message, you know what I mean? Be clear on that message.
What we're voting on
Sure, right,
that warrant.
right.
Because
People were confused.
they thought we're voting on a $30 million building and some people.
Yeah, we cleared that up.
I know, but I'm just saying, but
There's always gonna be some that don't
someone will
understand.
stand up and say that.
Always.
Anything else?
What's the next meeting?
Yeah,
We already said it.
We didn't, did we?
no.
I know, I screw you guys up with your twice a month, that's my schedules.
No.
I can do the 8th. 2 weeks.
I'm good, Dave.
I cannot do the 9th or 10th.
8th is open for me.
Good with you, Jack.
I'm
Or
gonna
you
shut this. I was trying to get to Joe, but there's no.
I just have a general
No,
question.
yeah,
Ryan,
Yes,
would it be better if it was closer to 5 or
I
closer
prefer
to 6?
6.
Oh,
It
all right.
allows me a second to get home,
Okay,
say hi to the family and then come back versus 5. I'm like in that weird, I'm just being selfish at this point, but I'm in that weird time.
3, but.
I don't go, I, 10:30.
Yeah.
Mark, do you have any sense of when in September, late, early? 'Cause now
I've been trying to, get a hold of Joe.
Okay,
I'll call him tomorrow.
okay, just let us know because if it's really close to that meeting, we're gonna need to talk beforehand.
Yeah, because you're gonna want to put together,
Exactly. So I'll just need to talk to Brian, but just keep me in the loop.
I think, along with what this gentleman's saying, the simpler description, the better as to what we're gonna be voting for at special town meeting, which would be Bill, I guess, would be FinCom, we would be part of the warrant.
I think that us two could have a part of that warrant. And we read the warrant language and we thought it was pretty clear, but I think it was more the ballot question that drew people to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That seemed to be where I heard the most. I never saw that.
Yeah, so we have to almost bring it down to an elementary school level, in terms of this is what it is, you know, and, yeah. Uh, talking around to people, I just think there's a real lack of understanding and or caring at this point. You know, people are worried about a grocery store and, you know, everything else that's going on in our lives. And it's hard to get them to sit still. I, you know, talk to some pretty
That's
intelligent,
not gonna change.
I talk to some
unfortunately.
pretty intelligent people sometimes and it's like, you know, really. So I don't know. It's a tough thing. What happened in Shrewsbury when they voted it down? They voted it down in town meeting or the ballot?
Town meeting passed, well, failed up all. I didn't follow, they definitely didn't pass. I don't know what they're gonna do now.
So then they,
Substantial, passing at town meeting and the opposite fell.
same thing we went through.
Well, they're not done. So we're working, trying to figure out how to proceed, go forward. The need's still there.
Yeah, they're gonna have a special
Go away
town
with the
meeting.
Ballot vote.
Will they have a special town meeting or?
They're still working on it. I'll provide details as,
Yeah, I'd be interested in.
but that's a good one to look at, then. So I'll go down that, yeah. Well, that's what the program, you guys have the program and the plans and all that, as they exist for that project.
Yeah.
Figure that's all public information. But just so you can see that, just to see adjacencies, it won't be a tour, but you can see it though. You know, with another project, another program, all the things that are in it, you know.
Who's the designer on that one?
HKT, the design. Okay. Started with different designer and that designer, you had.
Someone take it back and send.
Yes, we're gonna talk Wednesday. We'll finalize that stuff and we'll get to you.
Excellent, thank you.
Well, should we move to adjourn? I just making a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.